Well, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm CJ Ferry.
And I'm Chip Camara.
And this is going to be a great week. Well, then again, every week's a great week. I'll tell you, Chipper and I say this all the time, we couldn't make this stuff up. If you're interested in Days of Our Lives, come over here and watch Days of Fall River. It's a better show. So we're going to get right to it this morning with a little bit of our activity off the show. We love debate, and we had a viewer who said to us that he couldn't watch more than 10 minutes of our show, and he had to shut it off because we were so full of crap. So I want to make it very clear to that viewer and anyone else out there, Chip and I made sure that we took laxatives before we got on the show today. We're not full of crap. We get double verifications on our information and our story. And if we can't get it verified and we hear the whisper campaign, which we've learned over time has been very truthful, we tell you that. We're not going to present a lot of baloney and crap to you. We give it to you straight on. So with that, tonight, we tape on Tuesdays, so that you know, and tonight will be the first city council meeting for the new city council. And right off the bat, we're going to talk about the city council appointments to the committees. And we have two freshman councilors which have been appointed to ordinance and public safety. Jazel Correa has been appointed to ordinance. And in a statement from City Council President Joe Camara, he said that Jazel was appointed as the chairman to ordinance because he has experience in that. He presented to the City Council at one time a proposed ordinance, and that ordinance was passed. Therefore, he should be chairman. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it had a lot more to do with the fact that he got a vote for city council president from Jazel Correa. But to get back to your original statement about that individual, we make it clear when we talk about fact as fact. We normally cite where it's from, whether it's the U.S. Census Bureau, the Herald News, or whatever publication or whatever we're getting it from. And if it's something we've heard verbally and we can't confirm it, we say that. And the fact is that in the political arena, virtually everything that ever comes out starts as a whisper campaign or as a rumor or as the word of mouth. Somebody blows the whistle on a politician because, in case you haven't figured this out yet, politicians do lie. And that's just something that happens. But to get back to the city council appointments, Jazel Correa, I think the argument to make a freshman, and especially a freshman councilor who realistically wasn't even voted in by the citizens of Fall River. He was a 10th finisher, and he was moved up when Kathy Ann Viveris took the city administrator's job. It's a little, it's a stretch. The fact is that ordinance is the most important committee in the city council. They're the ones who make the laws that we have to live by in this community, our ordinances. And to put someone in with absolutely no governmental experience, is a bit of a stretch. And I think it's a lot more about thank you payback for your vote for president than it is about his ability to do that job.
I agree, and it's very interesting because, Jazel has made a great footprint on the political community here in Fall River. And obviously he did. He came in 10th. So he wasn't elected to the city council. By the statements from previous candidates, such as Gabe Andrade, who was not listed as a candidate for re-election to the school committee, Liz up in the Board of Elections said that that's only for people who were elected. So Jazel, if he runs again for city council, will not be a candidate for re-election. He will just be running for election. But it's interesting because Jazel has held himself out as being an entrepreneur, an individual who has created several businesses. And in my research, which many of you can do as well from home, I have found that he has had his name attached to many businesses, mainly as a partner or a CEO along that line. And it's interesting because he had made comments in the Providence Monthly that he and his partner were going to open up offices in the Regis building in Providence because they offered him the services they need, and he was looking at opening offices in New York and D.C. And those seem to have not happened yet. So hopefully, you know, this business of his that he was looking to do that for, it does happen. Then he has Snow Owl here in Fall River, which again, he's a CEO or partner with his friend Alex Vlahos. But it's interesting to see because a lot of these businesses overlapped his time at Providence College. And again, Jazel holds himself out to be very successful. He drives around in a very fancy car, is always very well dressed, looks very well prepared for everything. But he had gotten a summer internship with Senator Kerry. And during that summer internship, he asked the people to fund it. He asked for $3,800. And I find that a little interesting. And he still, and believe it or not, he still has his website up. For those of you who can see this, this is just a screenshot of his Facebook, not even a Facebook page. It's called the Fund Me page. And he's asking for money to, and it's still up. And he raised $1,850 in 22 months, which congratulations. I think that's a great job. $1,000 of it alone came from Walsh Pharmacy. And that was because he said that it's very expensive to live in Washington, D.C., and it's expensive for food, and it's an unpaid internship. Now, many students who get internships in Washington and elsewhere do need to get funding for this. And they do find it through loans and student loans and other programs. Jaziel went to the Fund Me page. Am I faulting him for that? No. But it seems to me that he's going to fit in fine with our City Council of welfare gimmies, because that's what we do in Fall River. Our City Council always asks the federal and state government for gimme, 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 and we just don't know what happens. It's very interesting to see this happen. But what does that say about him for a gentleman who has very successful companies, but he needs to go to the public to fund him to do a summer internship in Washington, D.C. with Senator Kerry? What do you think about that?
Well, I'm not sure. Obviously, I congratulate him on his being a entrepreneur and being successful. You know, that's a great thing, and I wish him continued success in business. However, as a city councilor, you have to represent the people of Fall River, and those people come from a city that has more than 20% of its population living below the poverty line, one of the lowest socioeconomic income levels in the state, if not the lowest. And you have to have some empathy for these people, and you have to remember when spending comes before the council that we have to prioritize in this city. We have to deliver basic services, but we can't just tax and spend and tax and spend and just break the backs of the people who are barely making it in this city, which comprise the majority of people in this city. The wealthy, successful people comprise the minority in this community. As can be shown very easily by the fact that only 37% of the people in this community own their homes. So with that being said, I just have a problem with some of his initial overtures. We have been told, and I have been told personally, and I'm going to say this on the air, this isn't a whisper. I was told by former City Council President Linda Pereira that Jaziel told her the reason he didn't vote for her for council president was that she went on a witch hunt when she called a special meeting to determine why we lost $800,000 in a grant and misspent $560,000 that was earmarked specifically for handicapped bathrooms and for particular areas, and instead we spent it on $5,000 on the mayor's shower and $9,000 doors for the law department, and it was fundamentally misspent. And I have to say, I hope that when you look at this objectively now, that you're going to realize that this was not a witch hunt. This is what a city councilor is supposed to do. They are supposed to oversee what the public and what the government is doing. We have to look and be the watchdogs. And if it falls on CJ and I, we're not going to shirk that. But the fact is, you are now an elected official. You cannot allow the city's money to be misspent and misappropriated and being spent on showers when people are barely making their taxes, and not creating handicapped accessible bathrooms, which we were ordered to by the state. I wish you well on your council term. I hope that I see a different Jaziel career than I have seen so far, or at least perceive from your statements, because perception does become reality. And, you know, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. You haven't taken a vote yet, but today's the big day. And I can tell you, CJ and I will be watching.
We always are watching. And, you know, in regards to that comment, I hopefully it was said in jest, because Linda Pereira was not on a witch hunt. She was doing exactly what the public wanted. They wanted to know where that money went. And that was easily told by the number of people that were in attendance at that meeting and the comments that were made from the gallery as opposed to the city council, especially the city council, City Councilor Pat Casey, who, in my opinion, ruined all her credibility with the people. But on to our next appointment, Paul Da Silva. Safety Committee. What gave him that? I have no idea. A comment was made in passing, and this was on WSAR, with Senate President Joe Camara, that, well, he was given that because he works at Charlton Memorial Hospital. And I believe Fosfiore, our lovely friend, made that comment. But it wasn't denied by anyone. That's what gets me. It was made, and Joe Camara didn't deny it. And you have to say, why did he get this? He has no experience in public safety. He was not a police officer. He's not a doctor. He's not a nurse. He's not a fireman. He's not an EMT. He's not even a janitor. You know, he's a computer technician, you know, data technician, information technology department. He's controlling the computers. So where in public safety does that come in? You know, but they did give him a job which he's going to be very good at. You got to admit, they gave him a job he's going to be very neighborhood liaison.
Well, that could be very true, but again, we have a situation where a freshman city councilor was appointed the chairman of another extremely important committee. The two most important committees, in my opinion, are ordinance. Of course, they make the laws, and that's Jaziel. And the second most important committee in the city council is public safety, because what is more important to the community than its safety? And the fact is that I think that someone who basically hasn't been on the city council at all, hasn't seen some of the things and the issues that have come before the council on public safety, and has no public safety background in being a data entry technician or whatever he is, at Charlton doesn't qualify him. I spent 38 and a half years on the fire department, and I was intimately involved with public safety issues, obviously. And as the president of the union for 24 years, I was there fighting about manning issues, and I think that committee, especially in this term, is going to be critical, because he is going to be in charge of the committee that's going to handle what's going to happen to the fire department when we lose the SAFER grant, which we have lost the SAFER grant. So how are we going to replace the 79 men that are funded by the SAFER grant? And as we said on this show numerous times, it is going to be a tremendous blow to safety, because this city chose not to use the SAFER grant to supplement our department. They used it to subsidize it, and you can't do that. And now it's not going to be the mayor and the city council who allowed this to happen that's going to suffer the consequences. It's going to be every single citizen in this community.
And we, in a lot of ways, allowed it because we voted for this mess. You know, we voted for these people. But I think it's just interesting to see these appointments. And, you know, Paul, we've been tough on you in the past, and we're going to be watching you too. We're watching every city councilor because we want to see what exactly you're going to do and what you're going to vote for. We currently believe that the city council votes line up 5-4, just like they did in the vote for the city council president. And that 5-4 vote is always going to be for the mayor. So whatever the mayor puts through, you're going to pass. And we believe that. And we're going to see that. And hopefully you prove us wrong. But we've been pretty good on figuring out our futures. And we don't have the crystal ball. We have the crystal skull. And we're hoping that we're wrong on this one. But I don't think we are. To get into City Council President Joe Camara. He actually called in. He wasn't asked for an interview. He called into WSAR to speak about these appointments and to speak about the rumor mill that he has had a meeting with the mayor and Jaziel and or Paul De Silva and or whoever else at a restaurant in Providence. And he wanted to emphatically state that he never had a meeting with the mayor in Providence, with Jaziel in Providence, or with any group of people from the city council in Providence. As a matter of fact, the only meeting he had was at Newport Creamery. Well, maybe that's how it got changed from Providence to, you know, I don't know. But it was at Newport Creamery, and it was with Jaziel. And they talked about some issues. And that's because Newport Creamery is close by City Council President Camara's home, which is true. But we had to make that very clear, because again, we do present both sides as they're presented to us. And we wanted to let the viewers know that, you know, Joe Camara wanted you to know that he never met with the mayor in Providence. But again, we know that this is what the mayor wanted. This mayor took a lead on getting this set up just the way he wanted it to be. And in my discussions with former Council President Linda Pereira, she was sure that she had the votes necessary, because she said Paul De Silva had, you know, said he was going to support her. And we told her, you know, I should say I told her, you know, I wouldn't believe it until I see it. No, I've got the votes. And I said, okay, fine. And right up until the day before the votes, it was, you know, still hopeful, and I didn't change my mind. But Paul De Silva did change, which tells me, as a voter, as a citizen of Fall River, can I depend on Paul De Silva's statements? Paul De Silva stated very clearly that he was going to support Linda Pereira for council president. And then he switched his vote. But we've had that happen before with Linda and with Mike Mioza, where they voted no on the water tax, the meter fee, and then they brought it back to change their vote. So you need to see people that you can't always depend on those people you voted for. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Well, as I said, I believe there was a comment that Paul De Silva had said he was committed to Linda's presidency at a few functions. We do have people who have said that. Just as there was a meeting at Newport Creamery, but there was another meeting with Jaziel, with the mayor, and also with Paul De Silva. So the mayor did meet with these people, and he met in his office, and we get calls from people. We have our moles in City Hall, and we get information, and it's not coincidental. Obviously, we don't know what was said, but when two people who have basically no knowledge of what's going on in the city council get elected to the city council, and you have an incumbent president, and then they meet with the mayor, and obviously Linda's going to lobby and Joe's going to lobby. It's part of politics. But the mayor got involved, and you know, we've got from very reliable sources that he was pushing for this. And let's face it, you know, it's not a big stretch to think what he was pushing for, because with all things being equal, you would assume that a freshman councilor would say, well, you know, she's been a council president. Well, you know, I'll probably go with her. But that didn't happen. And of course, in Jaziel's case, Jaziel was also over-contributed to the mayor's campaign. He was given money back. He was a spokesman for the mayor while he was running for city council, which is unprecedented, as we've said before. So, you know, it doesn't surprise me that he voted for Joe, but it also is pretty good circumstantial evidence in my book that he was told what to do by the mayor. And I will say this on the air. We will contact Jaziel about two things. Number one, we will contact him about Linda Pereira's statement, because she did make it, and she was willing to come on the air and, in her own words, take a lie detector test that he told her that he didn't vote for her for president because she went on a witch hunt. And if that's true and he admits it, we're going to tell him, we're going to encourage him to reassess that perspective of that meeting, because it had to do with the misspending of taxpayer money.
I agree. I think the statement may have been from an inexperienced young politician, but again, once you say it and it's out there, you own it. I think Jaziel has his eyes set on very high political office. I think the city council is just his start. To quote former Mayor Bob Correa, Jaziel was a young man that would come into his office on a regular basis and make sure he was known, because this young man has high political aspirations. And I firmly believe that Jaziel did. I mean, you follow his career through Fall River from high school on up to, you know, through Providence College. He was, I believe, the president of Providence College student body, or, you know, student senate, or whatever it may have been. And he does have high aspirations. He did pass an ordinance, did get an ordinance passed, but that ordinance he worked on with Bold Coalition with several people, and that created that Youth Bill of Rights in Fall River. And it's a wonderful thing. You know, the kids feel it's great, and that's a wonderful thing for them, and I have to say, wonderful. But I think Jaziel needs to really look at what needs to be done as a city councilor. Your job isn't to kowtow to the mayor or kowtow to the city council president. Your job is to kowtow to the voter, to the city, the citizens. You need to listen to us. And when people look at you and feel that you're unapproachable, it's going to be very difficult. And when people try to approach you and then they say, oh, I better find somebody else because I don't think he's going to go for this because it's not in the mayor's best interest or the city council president's best interest, that might be a problem. So remember, you are laying out your future by what you do here today. So it's going to be very interesting. But one thing that I don't want people to forget is the quote from the mayor. The past is the past. I only want to look forward. I don't look in the rearview mirror. Well, looking at what you did, Mr. Mayor, I wouldn't want to look in the rearview mirror either.
I think we can remember there's a very old adage, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. And I believe Thomas Jefferson once said something to the effect that I have only one lamp to light my way, and that's the lamp of the past. And, you know, the mayor doesn't want to look behind him because the road is full of mines and explosions, because he's basically been a mayor that's had 2 terms of nothing but problems and controversy and bad decisions. And if I were him, I wouldn't want to look back either. But the fact is, if you don't look back and learn from your mistakes, you're doomed to repeat them again. And we've seen it already. And it seems that we're on the course of another term of doing things, and it seems that he's stacking the deck with the council, and he's going to be able to do anything he wants. And I think that, you know, that's pretty scary. And with that, it's time for CJ's commentary.
Oh, my commentary. Oh, well, my commentary kind of goes along with what you said about we're doomed to repeat it because we don't learn from it, and we're not learning from it. We look at what's happened just over the past 30 to 45 days. We have a lawyer who says, I didn't get the paperwork in because I was on vacation. This seems to be the ultimate cop-out in Fall River. When we had the problem with the CSO, I didn't file for the grant because I was on vacation. So what happens? People of Fall River have to pay a rainwater tax, a rainwater fee, a fee to pay for the rain, the Angels' Tears. And now we're losing $800,000. And they're announcing, the mayor announced today, that it is not out of the question that we will file a lawsuit to get this money. Mr. Mayor, you're a lawyer. Do the people of Fall River a favor. Use your law degree, okay? We cannot keep going and filing lawsuit to get money. Even if we won this lawsuit and they gave us $500,000 or $800,000, there's no guarantee of the amount of money they're going to give us. Remember that. We have to pay the legal fees. And how come it's always that legal fees usually outweigh the amount of money we get? So who's going to be on the hook for those legal fees? The people of Fall River. We lost it. Let's be good losers and just say, okay, let's move on. We lost it. Take the shot and that's it. You just don't like to take the shots. You can put a $5,000 shower in, but let's forget that. That's okay. We put a $9,000 door in, but let's forget that. That's okay. We don't have handicapped bathrooms that are supposed to be in there, but let's forget that. That's okay. The city collector's office isn't safe. Oh, that's okay. Forget that. That's okay. Let's move on from there. So when does it happen that it's not okay? Are we looking at our news? We had another shooting by a former police officer in a Florida theater. We have children which are hanging themselves in our cities and towns. Don't you consider safety an important issue? Don't you consider the safety of those employees that work in the city collector's office important enough to make sure that they get the safety things they need, the cameras, the security systems, and whatnot? Or is your $5,000 shower more important? Or is that $9,000 door more important? We'll be looking at the city council now. We're going to be there, and we're going to watch. And we're going to see if the city council feels that your needs for frivolity and wants are more important than the people's needs here in Fall River. And with that, I rest.
Well, very well said, CJ. And I will make a quick one a shout out to Jaziel, who will be contacting you. But I will also let you know that don't be perceived as an elitist. Walk a mile in your constituents' shoes. Go and look at the neighborhoods. Talk to people who are struggling. They comprise the majority of people you represent. And don't ever forget it. Otherwise, your future in politics will not be as bright as you think.
And that's our show for today. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.